Yeah, I have no idea how we're going to follow that. I'm just going to say a few words because I'm here as a very, very proud dad. When we went to the first one of these, the first time we ever went to a court of honor for Eagle, Edward turned to me and said, one day I will have one of these for myself. And he certainly has persevered through scouting to do that. And actually, Edward has combined two of my favourite pastimes in getting to this point. I have a love for both camping and rugby. And in fact, it was on a camping trip with my rugby club, Edward was around 5 years old, that I experienced Edward's ability to make new friends. Because Jeff Turton there also has young children and said, you know what, I'll take the kids off for an hour and we'll have some fun over at the play area. So he took all the kids off. We had about an hour apiece while Jeff was entertaining all the children, and he brought them back. And I was sitting around the campfire and I could see James playing, but no Edward in sight. So I turned to Jeff and I said, so where's Edward? And he pointed at James. I said, no, that's James. To which he answered, you have two boys? Well, it turns out that Edward had found a different party to get involved in, and he was now guest of honor at someone else's birthday party in a field somewhere. But it caused a little bit of heartburn for some of the dads as we were running around the side of the dark trying to find the target. But unfortunately, Edward has never encouraged me to go on the camping trips. In fact, right from the start, he said, look, camp down out with scouts is something I want to experience, not as not with dad in charge. So unfortunately, I've really only gone on trips with Henry, who is a little more open to the idea of me tagging along. But nonetheless, I knew when it came to an Eagle project, Edward was going to have some big ideas. He was always the first to volunteer. I can't tell you how many times we dropped him off at the counting cams or helping out with some other community service award or something or other. So it was always going to be a big community project. I didn't realise that it was actually going to be a new hobby for me as well, though. So sure enough, he dragged me along to the New England Rugby Association where we had to learn how to be coaches. So a full day of school, and we learned to be a coach. But coaching wasn't enough for him. Another few months later, we were dragged off to become referees. And I love playing rugby, but I neither want to be a coach or a referee. But Edward seems to enjoy both of these pastimes. And in fact, he even took to refereeing one of the old boy games that Worcester was playing in, where both his coach and Jeff Durgin were also playing on the field. But he managed to control the old boys, who all had about 20, 30 years of rugby experience, all with an opinion on Edward's refereeing ability. But he was able to lead through that. Although I must say I wasn't too keen on having to call him sir for the afternoon. But I saw how Edward really led the coaches. Those coaching meetings that we had, planning out the event and how we were going to coach the kids. Edward really took charge of those meetings, told us what it was going to be, how it was going to be, and he made it very clear from the beginning that it was all about inspiring the boys, inspiring the players for the love of the game. And it was through that inspiration and that love of the game that the kids got better and better and better. We didn't have the best team in Massachusetts. We won the Bay State because of the leadership that Edward put into those kids and the love that he instilled into them. And I continued to see that leadership when he took on SPL. So he was SPL at the troop, and again, it was all about inspiring the younger kids to have fun as well as progressing through their advancements. So it's with great pleasure that I really have to recognise that Edward's ability to inspire others and the leadership that he's gained through scouting sets him up for success as he hopefully moves forward into a degree in next year to study business and entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic and Kate. Great words. And now I'd like to call on our Eagle Scout to say a few words.
I'd like. Let's do some topic, don't worry. Always with that, of course. I'd like to begin by rewarding my two grandparent pins to my grandma and my gramps. I literally wouldn't be here today without them. And yeah, these will be in the post for you. So thank you so much. Next, I'd like to do all of the mentor pins as well. So I'd like to start with the very beginning. Yeah. So I'd like to start with the Flynns. The two of you. If it weren't for the two of you, I wouldn't have even started scouting. Your leadership in Cub Scouts really got me started on my journey. So yeah, got the pins for you. Thank you so much. I'd also like to give a pin to Mr. Jackson. Yeah, I mean, for our leadership conference, people don't realize this, but there was a set of tables and chairs that we all just assumed were there from the beginning. This man single-handedly carried a set of tables and chairs up a mountain and didn't even mention it. Sadly, Mr. Tomini is not here today, but I've got a pin for him as well. Also, my two Scoutmasters, Mr. Harris and Mr. Garand. Of course, the Pete's, Mr. K and Mr. D. Mr. D is unfortunately not here, but Mr. K. Thank you so much. And Mr. Gabron, who is also not here. So yeah, I'm like paranoid I'm missing some of this. Yeah, I've got it right. All right, perfect. Oh, the one, the only. You thought I forgot. Yeah, Mr. Hall is, I mean, the amount of crap that you've had to deal with. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think I have speech as well. Thank you all very much for coming. From the first year Scouts to the Scoutmasters, I would not be here today without your help. I'd have to say I'm not what you would necessarily picture as a traditional Eagle Scout. I mean, literally last week I put the rain fly on back to front and did not realize until Henry had fixed it hours later. Nevertheless, I feel scouting has helped make me who I am today. It has taken a lot to get me to this point, from freezing to death under a tarp in the wilderness to breaking my arm on a bike trip, and here I am. I could not have gone this far without the support of my friends and fellow scouts. Nathan Boy went into battle for me, joining Eagle Scouts, seeing it as part of his community service, putting himself well out of his comfort zone. Nick Cito, who's tolerated me bringing a raincoat in a bag instead of a tarp when it was the one responsibility I had for the entire trip. Nevertheless, he still fed me and let me sleep in his tent. Nate Paul, who lent me his gloves 3 times in a row after I forgot them. And finally, there's Bruno. The Batman to my Robin, the Patrick to my SpongeBob, the donkey to my Shrek. On every trip, he was my trusty sidekick. He kicked down the shelter in the middle of the night during the wilderness survival trip, but then he gave me his hand warmers to warm my toes. A loyal friend, thick and thin. I'd also like to thank all those who helped me with my Eagle Scout project to make it possible. Rick, Brian, Jeff, John McNeil, and of course my dad. Without their help and support, 40 kids would have never discovered the joy of rugby, and I would not be here today. I'd also like to thank all the Scoutmasters who have gotten me this far, starting at the very beginning with Mr. and Mrs. Flynn, who were the leaders of my Cub Scout pack and started me off on my journey through scouting. I'd also like to thank Mr. Jackson, who single-handedly carried a set of tables and chairs up a mountain for our leadership conference. Next, Mr. Tomedy, who came to my aid after I broke my arm while others took photos of the traumatic experience. Hey, Mr. Flynn. Not Mr. Mr. Lee. Where am I? Mr. Gabron, who helped coach for Eagles. I'd also like to thank my Scoutmasters, Mr. Harris and Mr. Garan, also the Peets for all the work that they've done throughout the troop. Finally, last but most certainly not least, my man, Mr. Hall. Now, I felt that his pin did not truly do him justice for the time and effort that he has done to get me here today. From getting a speeding ticket for biking too quickly when I broke my arm, to trying to guide me through my many, many mistakes. So I thought it was appropriate that his pin should truly reflect the size of just how big of a pain in the ass I've been to him. Mr. Hall, if you'd like to go and receive your more accurately sized pin. And of course, my mom and dad, who to say I wouldn't be here without them is a true understatement. Let's just say that they had plenty of opportunities to give up on me. Yeah, no, I could not be more grateful for all the time and effort that you two have put into to getting me this far. Yeah, I really would not be here without you guys. Lastly, I'd like to give some advice to anyone having doubts over whether to continue scouting. Now, I know you've probably heard the same thing many times, not to leave scouts because it builds character or that it looks good on a college resume. What I have to say is that you should realize you can infuse your hobbies and passions into your scouting experience. To conclude, scouting has made me who I am, and I'm forever grateful for all those who've made that possible.
Thank you, Edward. Good job. Nick, I was going to call you up to extinguish the candles, but your services I don't think are needed, so thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to making this code of honor possible. Would everybody please rise for the retiring of the color guard? The purpose of this court of honor is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, and good job.